I am literally having a day like this cat right now. I feel exactly like he does.
This is fine.
Well, hello, greetings, welcome to another video from the lazy cat himself. And I'm kind of having one of those days where we're just going to do something fun that's an interesting experiment, to say the least. I don't know if there's any practicality behind it, but there's not usually practicality to a lot of things. So here is a laptop you may recognize from another video. I'll try to link to it in the description, or at least, make note of it here on the overlay. But this is an Inspiron Dell laptop, or a Dell Inspiron laptop. And what makes this thing special is the particular processor inside. Yeah. That right there. Pentium dual core inside. So, as it's kind of obvious, this is a Pentium Duo. And, we can go into the BIOS and confirm such things. You have to give it a moment for the screen to wake up. So that seems to be all the screen brightness we have. So let me just grab you here. And yeah, we are a Pentium dual core at 1.6 gigahertz. And I have 4 gigs of RAM. Yeah, the rest is pretty standard. I just threw a random. I got GM graphics, 945s. I got a battery. Nothing too crazy. I do have a 1200 by 800 display at least. This particular system does a 32-bit processor. So what I'm hoping to find out with this 640M is exactly what kind of things can you do with a 32-bit computer in the modern age. I kind of don't know, because who does know? Who uses 32-bit? This is just weird. So we're going to find out. So we're going to start by what operating system are we going to run. Now, in theory, we could run Windows 10. There is a 32-bit Windows 10, but do you really want to see Windows 10 on a Pentium Duo with 4 gigs of RAM? That's what I thought. So rather than painfully do that to ourselves, this little PNY drive has a distribution that I lovingly daily drive on at least a couple machines. It's called Linux Mint Debian Edition. Now, there is a ton of distros out there that do 32-bit Linux. I'm going to put some up in the cards here and in the overlay. But essentially, you're going to have distributions like MX Linux and LMDE, and even Mageia is apparently a thing. Mandrake did not die, which is fascinating and maybe something else we look at on the channel. But these distributions didn't drop 32-bit yet, and I do say yet, Debian's working on it. But it's fascinating that these 32-bit distros still exist out there. Now, why don't more exist? Well, back up a few years, and Ubuntu actually dropped support after 1804, if I remember correctly. And from there on, it's been 64-bit. And to be fair, there's a lot of merit to this. Do you really need a 32-bit device? Well, I mean, it sucks if you have one and you can't run modern operating systems on it. But at the same time, we're talking systems before 2006, and check your calendar on that one. That was almost 20 years ago. So I kind of agree with them dropping 32-bit support. You're compiling an entire architecture that you just don't need anymore. And so we're going to find that out as we go through this and whatnot. So what I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to insert my trusty USB stick into a USB port. That one's fascinating enough. We're going to rotate the system so that y'all have somewhat of a reasonable time with it. And let's just go ahead and... Now, this camera might be cocked, but that's all you get. And so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to power down out of the BIOS, and then we're going to hit boot, and for Dell it is F12. And to be fair, I only picked up this machine, which is an MXC061, purely for parts, because I have a Inspiron, I think it's a 160M, I'm not sure, it might be a 640M. Same chassis, same basic laptop that I wanted this thing for parts for, but when I saw this had a Pentium Duo in it, I knew I had to go for the 32-bit play. I have a Dell of this vintage that does in fact deal with this quite well. But I upgraded it to a 64-bit processor because these are Core 2 Duos, essentially. Which means as long as it's got a 667 frontside bus, you're good. Problem is, they don't all do that. So we're going to say start LMDE, 32 bits. And don't get me wrong, I previously daily drove that machine in with a 32-bit Core Duo processor. It was serviceable. I used it for several years that way. It wasn't until probably 3 or 4 years ago that I finally just reached the end of, you know what, some of these software packages just aren't supported anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and cleanly take care of this, and then it's not a big deal. And these things are super serviceable. I'll even show you when I get to my other Inspiron eventually on the channel. But there's one panel that covers the CPU, and it's like 2 screws, pop it off. And then it's a couple screws and the heatsink comes off. So there's really no excuse at all. So I'm going to go ahead and let this boot up. This shouldn't take too long, though. Again, it is a Pentium Duo. You got to keep that in mind. Everything's going to be slow. But really, once we're done with this experiment, this machine is going to get its RAM and SSD pulled and go onto the parts pile. I don't plan on maintaining a 32-bit system. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. It kind of doesn't matter. I probably won't use it. I don't use my other Core 2 Duo systems. It's one of the reasons why I've been slowly purging computers out of here. But we're going to go ahead and let this go through, and when it's done, I will come back. And we will probably be at a desktop. Alright, so we did make it to the desktop. As you can see, it's like anything else, you know. Real question. Oh no, I don't have network support.
Oh no.
Right, yeah, this probably has proprietary drivers. That's unfortunate. I have a workaround for it, don't worry about that. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and install. Again, this is not a permanent install, so I'm not going to worry about that. Debian does have its downsides. What I'm hoping is that I'll be able to Google the card and install the driver. But for now, we'll just go ahead, press next, and New York's close enough. I don't identify with them, but they're close enough. So I'll go ahead and put in my information here. So one of the things I like about the LMD installer, by the way, is the fact that you just choose where you want your bootloader and whatnot. LVM and whatnot's for disk encryption. I'm not going to worry about that here. Yep. And it says, where do you want your grab bootloader? Well, SDA. I want it on that device, so. And basically, that's everything. And we're going to hit next. And you all are going to get skipped until I am basically on the desktop. I'm probably going to install a simple screen recorder just so I can get something up and going, and maybe plug in a webcam. See if I can get some wireless stuff going. So I'll catch you guys once I've got that set up. Okay, so welcome back. We've finished the install, and she's just booting up for the first time. I gotta be honest, I'm probably not going to run her much longer. This thing's in kind of worse shape than I thought. It's very hot right now. But, you know what? It's a parts machine. What do we expect? It's for parts. The fact that it's gotten this far is pretty good. So we're going to type in our super secret password that's definitely not 123.
Much worse. If you do not give me the combination to the air shield, Dr. Slotkin will give your daughter back her old nose.
Where did you get that?
All right, I'll tell.
I'll tell. I'll tell.
I knew it would work. All right, give it to me.
The combination is 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5.
5. So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
And I know for a fact that the Wi-Fi is not working because it is a Broadcom Wi-Fi card. We're just going to pretend we didn't see that, and I've got 2 dongles here that we're just going to attempt to plug in and see if we get any signal at all. The router is literally the other side of that wall over there. So in theory, should be able to. And we can confirm our suspicions with an LS-USB, PCI actually. And yeah, Broadcom would be under the B43 family, so it would have been the B43 installer. That requires internet to fix, so well, let's try this generic Wi-Fi 5 AC600 driver free. It does not fill me with hope. That's a Realtek wireless. It also requires drivers. Yep, that's what I suspected would be the case. And what about this TP link here? I get a light. Hey, look at that. Hey, I found the loony bin. Look at that. Even my printer added automatically. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to give you guys some screen time here. And I apologize, the viewing angles are not great. It's not much better in person. So you can see we are the i686 version. So when you deal with software, that's going to be a key. Is you're going to want to look for i686 software, not x86, x64. So what is that going to mean for us? Well, for right now, we're going to apt update to get some software updates here. I don't expect this TP-Link USB dongle will provide the world's most legendary Wi-Fi service, but if it can get us through this, then at the very least we got that going for us. Yeah, I don't know that I'm willing to wait 24 minutes. Oh, 4 hours and 24 minutes, excuse me. %, 100%. We can go in here. Go into system info. And so yeah, here's our T2060 Intel Pentium Duo, our 3.2 gigabytes of RAM because we're borrowing, and our GM945 GPU, which is basically graphics media, and usually there'd be GMA, graphics media accelerator. In my opinion, the GM series is graphics maximum suffering. Doesn't really count as a GPU. 3 hours and 23 minutes. Let me just look through this little pouch here. Surely I have something else in the wireless capability. I used to have a Wise Tiger a long time ago, and I think I pitched that. So I may have to actually get a USB dongle. I'll need one anyway for my Penguin Tower. I don't have anything else, so most all of my wireless things are wireless cards, and most of them are taken. Gotta love a project when it goes sideways, don't you? Well, I guess while we wait for this to sort of not work, yeah, that is not great at all. That is not a 32-bit problem, that is a stupid Realtek problem. Yep, we got a bunch of errors. Could not retrieve. So what you're going to find with 32-bit is go into Synaptic Package Manager. I did at least get some amount of packages updated. GUI Software Store may or may not be happy with me. This laptop definitely has problems. But what you're going to find out is if we full screen this, is you're going to have some amount of software that's installable. No problem at all. But there's a lot of programs that are not compiled for 32-bit, especially anymore. They've even got Cowsay and NeoFetch in here probably somewhere. Enhanced Legendary Doom game. You need a WAD to play it, but you know, you won't play Doom, it's in here. So, I mean, you could play Doom or something like that if you wanted to. Like I said, I'm not going to get too far into this. This thing's already getting pretty toasty. I really don't want to murder it, because I'd like to have parts. But you can see there's still a decent amount of games and applications through Synaptic, or probably even through the software manager, which we are not going to force quit, that do exist. It's just down to what do you need. You know, like Ardor is a digital audio workstation. I'm amazed that there's a system package for Ardor. Yeah, I mean, it's totally going to install it. Okay, well. Looks like there's a medical image viewer. There's all kinds of cool stuff. Digicam, 3D chess, there's a DS emulator. There's actually a surprising amount of software in here. Brasero for ripping discs or burning CDs. Got your boat racing games. You got your Bible time. So you got a pretty reasonable amount of software that you could have access to. And of course you've got, you know, what comes pre-installed, right? You've got your Office software here, document scanning, you got Thunderbird, you got Firefox. One of the nice outs here is if I get rid of a couple things here that are clogging up the way. You can make any website an app with Mint's web app. So, you know, if I wanted to say discord.com, sometimes it'll autofill the icon, and you can just say okay, and then boom. Now Discord will launch as a web app in a little Firefox wrapper. And this is only really slow because of this dongle. Realtek and their fantastic drivers never has a problem whatsoever. So you can get around a lot of things that are hosted as a web app by literally turning them into a web app. So we are going to close Synaptic here because I think this experiment has gone on about as long as I think I'm interested in. So as you can see, there is software for 32-bit. It does exist for now. Some of your biggest problems are in fact going to be how long are those pieces of software realistically going to be supported? The answer is who knows. You know, Debian, even Debian itself. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. So even Debian itself has commented to kind of not wanting to support 32-bit anymore, and it's unfortunate, but even Debian has gone through a phase here. They're even talking about dropping 32-bit support. Now, they haven't dropped PowerPC, so is 32-bit going away anytime soon? I don't know. It might in the next 10 years. I mean, think about how much extra effort is going into keeping machines like this online. And they're really slow. Even this thing is incredibly slow. Right now, it's incredibly hot. That's a different problem. But you're talking about hardware that's pre-2006, doesn't support more than 4 gigs of RAM, if that, and don't relatively gain enough from being able to run this to really do anything. It's really tough, and I have one other laptop that I'd like to pull out that I think is probably an even more interesting experiment to go on with, and give me 1 second on that. So in this suspicious black bag is a laptop that I bought a while back, actually when I wasn't even living here yet, for literally $17. Was it worth it? So I had one of these growing up as a kid. This is one of these Intel Inspire 1 netbooks. Now this one's a little bit later revision, a D255E. And, you know, I might do a second part to this series where I daily drive 32-bit Linux on this machine. It is not fast. It is not powerful. But it's got a little chubby battery. It does checkmark all the boxes of something that this might be relevant for. Because think about it. This thing, pretty good typewriter, isn't it? And it's small, it's lightweight, it still gets pretty reasonable battery life, and it's got enough screen. Why not, right? So that's where I'm going to take this series from, because this is a little bit later generation. It's an Intel Atom. It might even support 64-bit, but I'm going to install 32-bit anyway, because I think you're going to have a better time with it. 32-bit uses less RAM anyway. So if you like the video, go ahead and smash the thumbs up button, like the video. We are going to get out of here and on with our lives. This was just kind of a rant I wanted to do with this system, because 32-bit, it's kind of neat. It's fascinating. It still exists. It existed most of our childhoods, if you're like my age. So with that, hope you guys have a great day.